Hello, I am Bernard, a Catholic theologian. Today I would like to share with you about my theological perspective on faith, but I would like to present it to you from the Catholic view. A lot of people are asking about the meaning of faith. Some are confused about it, some have a distorted view of faith, and the problem is they may not know it. For example, some could be very superstitious about it. Even those who do not believe have their own notions of faith, and they must be negative. That is why they reject faith. I think you too have questions about faith. Now, I would like to help shed light on faith. Not that I know about it more than you do, but because I have asked this all important question as to what is really the meaning of faith. So, I studied theology, and I studied not to earn a degree, but I finished one, a master's degree in theology. But I studied it because I would like to really understand what's the real score about faith. So here it is. Faith is not just a belief in God. Faith is actually a response to God's initiative of encountering us right here in our world of space and time. So faith is experiential. It is an encounter experience of God. It is actually God who takes the initiative to call our attention by encountering us in so many ways we do not understand. We can only figure that out at hindsight. Okay? So, faith as an experience of God may come as a euphoria, an excitement, or it could be something uh, terrible, a painful tragedy, for example. So, as an encounter experience, it could be in good times or in bad. The thing about faith as an encounter experience of God is that we are shaken up, we are disoriented, we are stopped on our tracks precisely because what could be going on may not be the ordinary, the usual day to day experience. It is something that strikes us. So we cannot but try to figure out what is going on with me in my life. What is this that is happening? So I said, in good times or in bad. Something that will really get our attention to figure out what is the meaning of this very unusual experience. So that is how God comes to us. Now, this personal experience is also a collective experience, and that is what Christian faith is all about. Christian faith is a collective experience. It is not just a shared experience of people who have come to believe in God in the Christian way, but it is also a history long experience. The Christian faith has been handed down from generation to generation, tracing it back to the time of the apostles. The Catholic Christian faith, or the Christian faith, is the apostolic faith that has been handed from generation to generation up to our time. But faith did not begin there. Christianity is also a sequel to the experience of the Jews of ancient Israel, actually the first chosen people of God. Okay, God chose Israel to reveal himself to them, beginning with a person, Abraham, and then Isaac, and then Jacob, and so on and so forth, the succeeding patriarchs, okay, uh, having sort of inherited that belief in God, whom they called in those times Yahweh. So it is also a shared experience, a historical cultural experience, and that resulted in what we call religion. So let me tell you something about religion a little later. But for now, I just would like to point out that faith is an encounter experience of God, who it is who takes the initiative to encounter us because he wants to call our attention. He wants to draw us toward him. Now, when we uh, feel that we need to understand this experience, we are said to be theologizing. Theology is the result of faith, an encounter experience that is unusual. And when we try to understand this, we are said to be theologizing. What is going on? What is going on? Whether we know it or not, that we are theologizing because we are trying to figure out what is really happening, we are already theologizing. Okay? So, St. Augustine was able to conceptualize theology. He said, believe and understand. Okay? From all the experiences that are shared that he went through, St. Augustine, but of course, St. Augustine got his personal uh, reflection of his faith, of course, as it were, from uh, the apostles, from the apostolic faith, which in turn was also the the result of is the faith of Israel that is embodied in the Old Testament. Okay, so the Old Testament, we would find the historical narratives of the experiences of Israel that led to the religion of Judaism. Okay, and then to make the story short, Judaism uh, evolved into the Christian faith or Christianity. And from uh, the history of Christianity, we discover that people began to understand the Christian faith in different ways. So Christianity also became uh, divided on very critical Christian issues or faith issues, and that explains why there are so many denominations now, especially among the Protestants. But the Catholic faith is the Christian faith that is proclaimed to be really rooted in the apostolic faith. So you see, as I explain this, I am alluding to complex realities of experiences of people who embrace the faith from generation to generation to generation. So this faith also evolved, okay, and until now it is still developing, progressing. So that is what I mean by evolution, the evolution of faith, simply because that faith that generates belief in God, okay, through theology is uh, our attempt to understand who God really is, but because God is unfathomable, okay, our understanding of God is limited. Limited. No? So, from our theologizing, from the theologizing of the church has figured out that we can only know and understand God to some extent. To some extent, precisely because God remains a mystery, and we understand God also from God's way of choosing what He wishes to reveal to us. So we call that divine revelation. And the way God has wanted us to understand Himself and our lives, the purpose of existence, why He created the world, the whole universe, uh, all of those are embodied in what we call the divine economy of salvation. So, faith indeed is an encounter experience of God that uh, imposes upon us theology, understanding. So, this understanding comes to us through reflection, through critical analysis, through discernment of the details of these experiences of God. Okay? And we are able to figure out with more and more clarity what this faith is all about, because a lot of people have experienced that faith ahead of us. So we consult them, we learn from them. And that is what the church means when the church invokes sacred tradition, not just scripture, but also sacred tradition. Sacred tradition is kind of a sequel to the Bible, because the Bible itself is the anthology of books signifying various historical experiences that have been recorded in the past. Okay, so these various episodes of historical experiences were recorded, were written down, and they were collected. And so, to make the story short, the Bible is a library of books, of accounts of uh, people, people's historical experiences of God, who it is who has taken the initiative to reveal Himself to us through a person, and then that's Abraham, first person that God encountered if we study the Bible, and then from Abraham to a family, the family of Abraham, to a tribe, the tribe of Abraham, to a confederation of tribes, those who descended from Abraham. Abraham certainly passed on that faith to his offsprings, to his descendants. And then the faith began to be shared by a confederation of tribes until this confederation of tribes became the kingdom of Israel. Okay, the first king was said to be King David, although of course there was an earlier king, Saul, but he was disqualified by God. So it was King David who is being acknowledged as the first king of Israel, a king that would be ruling on behalf of Yahweh. So that was King David. So you see, it's a historical experience, no? And that is something that is amazing, because the the stories have never ceased. The stories continue to develop from time to time, unceasingly. And that is why, until now, when we talk about God, we cannot but also recall the stories of God's encounter with his first chosen people, Israel, and then in the New Testament, the apostles. That's why now our faith, the faith of the church, is the apostolic faith. No, we can never sort of veer away from the apostolic faith. It is the apostolic faith that the whole church keeps on contemplating on. Okay, and it is still progressing. It is still being contextualized and so on and so forth. So the whole process is theology. So theologizing has resulted in the formulation of guiding principles or teachings. Okay, these are guiding principles, paradigms by which uh, the people who embrace the Christian faith could uh, follow God, could uh, heed the will of God properly and uprightly.